Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. This was kind of crazy. I did something a little weird that I've never done before. I did an intro video and I pulled it off. So that was exciting. What'd you think, Dave?
I loved it. And I loved more the fact that you're just willing to try something here on Friday 15. Like, let's just see what happens. I love it.
I don't know. It worked out okay. So if you're listening, you actually didn't get to see my cool teaser reel, but it was for Host Week, which is coming up in one and a half weeks. Dave is going to be doing a one thing, which is very exciting, as well as TPI, or Travel Planners International, is going to be one of the host interviews. So we would love for you to sign up. We'd also love for you to send in your pet photos. We have a plethora of dog photos. The felines out there, I don't know if travel advisors are just more dog people. I'm a dog person, but it seems like we're having a shortage of cats, and I'm not. You're a cat? You're a cat?
No, dog.
Oh.
Dog. I'm another dog person. No. Don't get me started on cats. No.
Well, I didn't give a proper introduction for those that are coming. This is Dave Meihoefer with Travel Planners International. Hopefully you know him because he's been on the Friday 15 a ton and he's all over TPI. So hi, Dave.
Hi, how are you, Steph? So happy to be here. I love these because it's like, kind of leading up to it, you don't know what you're going to get, and it's just such a wide variety of topics and questions. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we got some great questions in, as always. So thank you for submitting. And if you have a question and you're listening in and thinking, I should submit one, you should go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15 and submit your very own. I also wanted to mention to everyone, next week during Host Week, we are going to be having the Friday 15. We are going to be having Chuni Wright, who is a travel industry attorney, on. So if you have specific legal questions, ask those and submit them, because we will be going over them during Host Week. It's free legal advice. You really can't beat that.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I know, so Dave this week was, I was chatting with him before we came on, and he just got done with TPI's I'm doing this backwards. Learn, market, sell.
LMS. Yep. Learn, market, sell.
This is TPI's 3-hour online training about certain destinations, niches, things like that.
100%. It's broken up into 3 segments, and the high level view of it. Yeah, it's broken up into 3 segments: learn, market, sell. So as opposed to kind of the traditional training webinar or Zoom or any kind of virtual, educational type session, as opposed to that, where typically you have like 1 supplier or 2 suppliers, they just sit there and talk about how great their product is, and pump up what the new ships are, new destinations, hotels, whatever it may be, and then basically finish up after that 30 minutes, 1 hour, and wave goodbye and hope that everybody sells it. We've transformed that into a 3-hour production today, where literally 3 of our partners will come on and they'll do the learning portion. The education as far as the newer hardware or destinations. And today was Alaska, so an update on their Alaska products. But then we take a pause, and then we go to what we call the market segment, which is focused on marketing Alaska in partnership with the brands. And then the third segment is all about sales and selling. Once you've done your marketing and you're getting eyes on your business and eyes on what you're promoting, in this case, Alaska, then we talk about selling, actually, how are advisors closing the deal?
Yeah, that's the important part.
And, many of the feedback we get from our advisors is the fact that when they leave this type of virtual education session, they're walking away with tools to go out, sell, and market the product versus just learning about it and then trying to figure it out themselves.
Yeah, super, super nice. Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you're joining for another virtual event today.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of great questions. So let's start with one from another Stephanie. So it starts, hi, Steph. I thought I had a rare name, but your podcast is making me feel like just another Stephanie, because there's a lot of Stephanies that write in. We're very popular with Stephanie's. So she says, I have gone through the Accelerator course, which is HAR's course on starting your travel agency. We'll link to it in the comments. And says, I'm just going back and starting the business end of things. After 2.5 months of name searching, I feel like I can finally fill in the blanks. Thanks so much for all of your great podcasts and resources. So this question doesn't really pertain to me now, but when I'm looking to the future in my successful advisor life, what is the benefit of leaving a host agency and going on my own? Will it be a host? Will I be a host agency lifer? Or is there a pot of gold on the other side? Just curious. Another one of those Stephanies. So love this question. What are your thoughts here, Dave?
Well, first of all, I am married to a Jennifer, and over the past year, I've had so many Jennifers come into my life. So Stephanie, my wife can feel your pain. I can feel your pain too.
Just popular. You're popular. You
And you
can't
know what?
help it.
Every Stephanie is different. Every Jennifer. So, well, that aside, right? She mentioned kind of finding that pot of gold. Was it?
Yeah.
For me, it's Stephanie. You should really figure out and think about what does your pot of gold look like, right? Like, what is that to you? We work with, being a host agency, we work with thousands of advisors. We deal with a large variety of different business models. We deal with a large variety of personalities, people who are motivated differently. Some people are all about the trophies and the money. Other ones are all about they're a lifer in travel. They just want to travel while having a successful travel business. So in any case, if I were you, I would first steps, define what that pot of gold looks like, and then assess, as far as being a host agency life, or within, working for one host, or if you're, multiple hosts, if that's working for you, great. The reasons why I think Steph and I wanted your 2 cents on this too, but for me, when I think about what are the benefits to our advisors being part of the host, I mean, it's the buying power, right? Like, we're part of Signature Travel Network, and different hosts are part of different consortiums that help get you preferred partnerships, preferred commissions, resources at your fingertips, and so many other things that are a huge benefit of being part of a host or partnered with a host. And then just kind of a common network of people, right? The good hosts offer a variety of networking opportunities, events. We have like a lot of Facebook groups where advisors are mingling and having conversations and best practice sharing and all that good stuff. So, going out on your own, I get it, but you really have to think about, is this the best business decision for me? And then also, what happens when you're, we said out on your own, or you said out on your own, like, you may start to feel out on your own. And that can be a challenge for some people.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I was curious what you were going to say, because my experience has been, when I was at my parents' agency, even people that had, multiple $1 million in sales, some of them would still stay at the host agency. And they did it because they just looked at the, if your host has a 90, 95, 100% commission plan, they just looked at that monthly fee that they were paying. Maybe it's, say, $250, $300. Like, it's like outsourcing and paying someone to kind of do your back end bookkeeping, all that sort of things. And they really enjoyed the community, and that's part of the reason why they were staying. But it was also because you're getting higher commissions across the board. So if you've never sold a Virgin Voyages before, and suddenly you have one that comes in and you have 10%, you would be at 10% on your own, but say with your host agency, you're getting 16% with them, let's say. I mean, that can make a big difference for larger ticket items. So that, I think a lot of them looked at it as, that monthly fee that I'm paying, I'm getting a big chunk of the commissions. That is just totally a cost of doing business, and well worth it to me. Because some of the things people don't think about when you go on your own is, one, you have to pay for your accreditation, which isn't going to break the bank. But there's other things. There's a lot of logistical things that your host agency does. They set themselves up with all the vendors. You'll have to set yourself up with all the vendors that you're doing on your own, establish those relationships. There's travel insurance licensing laws. There's seller of travel laws, depending on where you're living. So there's a lot of other like logistical things. And if you're someone that just loves selling travel and you don't want to, you're going to have to deal with some back end stuff. But if you want to minimize it, your host agency can kind of help simplify that product, or can help simplify things for you, Stephanie. So a lot of people are host agency lifers. In our recent report, I should have looked this up before our call because it would have made sense to do, but I'm just thinking of it now. But it's single digits that actually end up leaving host agencies to go independent. And usually if they're doing it, it's like between, I think, years 3 and 5 is when we see it. So it's not very common. And I think the reason that it isn't very common is because people really enjoy having those high commissions across the board. They like that the host agency takes care of all the accounting on the back end, and all they have to do is log into their portal and they can see all their commissions due, all that sort of stuff. So I think you are very, very right, though, Dave, that it's really important to define what that pot of gold is for you, Stephanie, because that's going to help you. Like, if you love getting those awards, that's the reason at my parents' agency that I saw people leaving. It was usually someone that is booking 1 or 2 different vendors. It's say like, they love Apple Vacations and Delta Vacations, and they're booking them and they're at the top tiers for them. So they're not going to miss out on any commissions. And they want to be the one that's up grabbing the awards at the Charisma Awards ceremony or Apple Leisure Groups when they put on their big annual event. And that's kind of what I see. So I think you can be a happy host agency for lifers, Stephanie, depending on what your goals are. So hopefully that helps you out. I'm also going to link to a couple resources because I know that there's a lot of newbies that tune in. And Dave mentioned a few things like preferred partners and consortia. And if you're not familiar with what those are, we will link to articles on those, as well as one on the top 10 benefits of using a host agency that will go into things more in depth. And if you are exploring going on your own, we'll also link to our accreditation article so you can get an idea of the costs and what's involved with that, as well as the seller of travel licensing articles.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Steph, one last thing on that. I was going to say too, when I have a tough decision to make, or one where I'm just kind of like 50-50, not too sure, I suggest just notepad, however you do it. If you're a computer or iPad person, jump on there and just write, maybe take notes of, okay, here are all the things I would lose if I leave my host.
Mm-hmm.
Jot all those things down. And then, next list, here are the things I'd be happy about leaving my host. And you know what? If that list is a lot shorter than the longer list of those things that now you're going to have to do yourself, or you're going to have to start taking care of yourself, or you're going to be losing or missing out on, that might help tell the story as well.
That's a great point. By the way, Dave, why didn't you tell me my dog looks so cute in the background? Is that not adorable?
Well, just because I know if I started talking about it, I'd get tears in my eyes and start missing my dog in the other room.
Okay.
Adorable.
For those that are listening in, he's got his little eyes closed and he is sleeping on top of his little raccoon toy.
It's very precious.
It is very precious. Okay, let's move on to number 2.
So Friday 15.
So we have Inez wrote in and she says, "Hi, Steph, listener and big Har fan here from Belgium, Europe. So I don't know if this has already been asked, but I couldn't find it in the archive. So here's my question. How would you deal with clients who are traveling and complaining about every minor detail, going from the gym was only open for an hour, though the sign and the website say from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. The room was too cold, but they wouldn't turn on the heating, even though the heat was on. The breakfast is just too British, or the restaurant prices were too Western and not to Indian standards." Yep. This is at a Michelin star restaurant in India. So they are driving the local rep up the wall. Nothing seems to suit them. They've been given free upgrades, but when confronting them personally, they're telling me a completely different story than what the local agency is. So Inez is worried it's some sort of a strategy to get a reimbursement or discount for the next trip, and she doesn't want to fall for it. So how should one handle this professionally without risking getting the bad reviews and knowing they got everything they requested at the time of booking and more? They are also seasoned travel, so it shouldn't be a case where they came unprepared and had unrealistic expectations. So what are your thoughts on this, Dave? How does she chat with these high maintenance individuals?
Yeah, so this is a tough one, right? Nobody nobody likes to turn away business, or customers. And, you know, as an advisor, it's a matter of your tolerance level, to be completely honest with you.
It's true.
First and foremost, and it's almost like my rule of thumb when dealing with people just in my life in general. It's like, how much am I willing to stand? How valuable is this relationship to me? Obviously in this scenario and what you're dealing with, it's a customer. So it's commissions, it's your business, it's a customer. You're thinking about, okay, are they going to write up a bad review about me and my business? So first and foremost, I would think about, okay, how valuable is this client or are these clients to you and your business, right? Is this a heavy hitter VIP that's always booking through you, and this is going to be a big chunk of business that you're losing? So consider that. Think about, or I shouldn't say think about, be mindful of not letting them hold you captive. And when I say that is because I think, we've all been in that scenario where it's like, you don't want to lose the business and you're trying to do everything you can for them. But ultimately, all the time you're spending on a client like this, you might be missing so many other great opportunities with so many great customers and so many amazing travelers that are looking to book, their next vacation with you. So, I mean, those are two things. Don't let them hold you captive. Assess the situation and really how much can you tolerate from them. Mm-hmm. Also, and I don't mean to kind of bounce around the topic, but yeah, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt as well. Based off these examples and this long laundry list of complaints and issues, it is tough to give someone like that the benefit of the doubt. It should all start with a conversation. If you're speaking to them and they're telling you another story based off what you're hearing, just ask the why. Just curious, why am I hearing, about the British breakfast being British or whatever. I mean, some of these things, I'm like, gosh, I can't believe I haven't.
I thought they were great. They cracked me up, Inez. Thank you.
Yeah, it's how much, your time is money. So, you got to think about the value that this client brings to your business, how much time you want to spend on it. And, if you need to fire a client, listen, it's going to be okay. If you're strong marketing, sales, you have a strong business behind you, you're going to find new clients. But it's a matter of finding how much you can deal with. And again, how much business you may lose or gain.
Yeah. I'm totally on the same track with you, Dave, because the first thing I, of course, deal in a review site. So we have these situations that we're dealing with, just this week, we had something like this come up. I would say yes, it's all about your tolerance and then giving that benefit of the doubt, because if you have one story from one side and one from the other side, I would try to make sure you're understanding what's actually happening. Because I've had so many times in my business career where, you hear one thing, but then you actually go and investigate and you're like, oh, that's not what happened at all. That totally got skewed. So checking in with them, and just as a good travel advisor, you should be checking in anyhow and saying, hey, the ground operator, I just want to make sure everything's okay, because the ground operator was saying, that you were having troubles with the gym or blah, 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 blah. And, I want you to make sure you're having a great time, and seeing what they say. And if they're not, if they're saying they're not complaining, I would also talk to the ground operator and saying, this is what they're telling me. Is it possible there's some kind of a miscommunication here? It's very possible there is not. And then at that point, I think, Dave, it's all about the tolerance level. And I would say I would never, for anyone, let a bad review stop you from firing a client, because when we get bad reviews sometimes on the site, I know when I worked at a host agency, I love advisors, but there are crazy advisors out there, just like there's crazy people everywhere. And you sometimes get one that's very difficult to work with. And what they put in their review is not necessarily the reality that you were living. But the beauty of reviews is you have the opportunity to respond back to them. And what I always tell people when they get a bad review is that oftentimes people will be really upset they get a bad review. And I'm like, I totally get why you're upset, even, and especially if you're not feeling like that was the reality, but it's all about how you answer it. Because to me, when I'm going through reviews, the way a company answers back is almost more powerful than the review itself. We've all seen those people that leave terrible reviews. And then the business writes back very analytically and is very thoughtful and kind and all of these things. And you're like, oh, it's the person leaving the review is the one that was like a little off kilter there. So don't let that stop you, Inez, because Dave brings up a great point that there's a lot of other fish in the seas that are going to appreciate a true British breakfast and not be upset when they're at a Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Last question is from Alyssa B. So Alyssa is saying, hi, Friday 15. I am a school teacher and I will be starting part-time until I retire in 2 to 5 years. So during the summers, I have a ton of free time, but if I have clients on a trip during the school year, how will I be available to them? For example, if a problem arises and they need me to rebook something or advocate for them, teaching is just not like some jobs where you can duck away from your desk for 15 minutes randomly in the middle of the day to take a phone call. So when I am at school, I'm very much in a school bubble that nothing can interrupt. So I guess my main question behind the question is, how realistic is it to successfully do this as a side hustle while teaching, and for how long? And how much will I be able to take care of my clients, or how much of this will actually be needed during the school year? I know tons of advisors sign on. What have you seen over at TPI?
Yeah, no, we definitely have an audience of advisors here and a community of advisors who are teachers. Some have been teaching forever, and this is a secondary, income for them. Other ones are starting to, they're on kind of the back end of their teaching career, and they're setting themselves up for a career in travel after they're done teaching. So this is a great question. And, the fact that there are many, many, many teachers currently doing this, I feel helps tell the story of you can do it as well.
Yep.
Now, again, we just, shared or used the term, tolerance level. Looking at this situation, I say tolerance level as far as like, are you the type of person that needs to be in front of your emails, responding to every phone call right away? Like, is that something, that urgency there where you're going to be stressed out, from, I'm just calling it like 7:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. every day because you're at the school and you're maybe missing some phone calls and emails, and that whole thing? Are you setting up, are you setting the expectations with your customers as well as far as your accessibility? This scenario, right? We're talking about ifs and what if this might happen, maybe. So, my first opinion is you're not going to know until you dive into it and give it a shot. So I would say, head down, go for it, set the parameters and expectations for your customers, and then have a plan B. And when I say a plan B, I'm not talking about like a different job. I'm speaking about like a plan B where, is there another advisor who you are completely wouldn't trust with your business or can help you out, where, and let's just say, during the school year, Monday through Friday, I say, 7:30 a.m., I'm just making this up, 7:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. They are the backup source, right? The emergency line, let's call it. And then on weekends, you pick up their slack if they need it, or, find a mutual a relationship and a mutual connection that can help both your businesses and help support each other. So that's my first thing, is you're not going to know until you dive into it. And there are many teachers successful selling travel advisors who are also teachers right now. Steph, I'm sure you over the years have met many who teach and sell.
Well, what I found, teachers are very, very organized. They're always getting the kids from here to here. They're doing the lesson planning. And so they're really great at making sure they're planning ahead for when they're traveling. So like you said, clearly making the expectations set up front, just like I used to be a teacher. So just like you used to do with your classrooms, you let people know before you start a project what they can and can't do. And that sets you up for success. It's the same thing with your clients here. You're going to let them know the hours that you're available. You're going to have to work some evenings in order to make this happen, which I think is going to be okay, because it sounds like you're kind of hoping to retire in a few years. But I think you also need to, the one thing that's really important when you're an advisor and working a part-time job is being able to prioritize what's important and what what is actually time sensitive and what isn't time sensitive, so that you can take care of those things right away. And then if, like, my thing is, when I get behind in my emails all of the time. I'm not amazing at this, to be honest, but what I try to do sometimes is, if I know I'm behind and someone has written into me, I at least write back to them if it's been a few days and say, hey, I just wanted you to know I got this. I'm so sorry. I'm behind on things. I will get to this within X amount of time. So communicating clearly and often is going to be really helpful and key, I think, to being able to kind of balance these.
Yeah. And the key thing there is, and it's great that, you're thinking about these things, right, before you jump into it, possibly. Accessibility, right? Everybody wants to be accessible, especially for clients. And the fact that you have a genuine concern of, what happens if it's Tuesday and it's 11 a.m. and I'm at work, I'm at school, and somebody is over in Italy, or somebody is on the West Coast, or wherever they might be traveling to, they're your client, and something happens, right? So educating those clients too, I would set a goal of saying, okay, every vacation I book, whether it's a cruise, land tour, whatever it may be, make sure, you're putting everything as much in their hands, as far as whether it's emergency phone numbers, contact information for the actual cruise line, again, tour operator, hotel, like, set them up for success while they are away, so they don't have to reach out to you. And
so smart.
Right, Steph? Well, and I get it, especially clients, like the one who complains about everything, they're going to be calling her about it, we were speaking about earlier.
Yeah.
You're going to have those moments, but do everything to set yourself up for success prior to running into the situations. And it's going to go a long way, and it's going to provide that good peace of mind that we all need when we want to run a successful business.
Yeah. And then I realized, Alyssa, you also asked like how long it would take. And I would say, like, in order for you to go full time, it's going to depend on a bunch of different factors. But what we see with our in our annual reports that we publish every year is that it's typically, you're going to probably, if you're going to jump off to full time, if you're working at it pretty consistently, it'll probably be around year 3 to 5 is where you're going to be able to kind of retire and go off and go full time and travel. So great questions this week. Thank you, everyone. And Dave, we are hitting like not the Friday 15, but like the Friday 30. We just love to hang out.
Gosh, did we get Friday 30? Wow.
Yeah. So thanks for hanging in with us, everybody. But
yes,
Dave, we are going to link to Travel Planners International's profile on HAR, as well as your website, so people can check you out if they want to do the LMS, learn, market, sell, or anything along those lines. Is there anywhere else or anything else you want to share where people can connect with you, ask questions?
Sure. I'm a big Facebook guy, so feel free to reach out to me. Dave Meihoefer, as it's spelled. I don't know if they could see my name, but it's Dave, D-A-V-E, and then my last name, Meihoefer, which is spelled M-E-I-H-O-E, F as in Frank, E-R. Feel free to friend request me on there. And if you do friend request me, shoot me a quick message on Messenger, just saying, hey, Dave, I listened to you, during the Friday 15 with Steph Lee, just so I know who I'm talking to and who I'm friending.
And send a picture of your dog or cat.
Yeah, send me dogs. No cats. No. It's all good. I look forward to hearing from you. Yeah.
That's perfect. We will see if Abby can dig up your Facebook profile and put that in the comments for people so they can find it easily. And for those of you diehards out there, this is what we have coming up. Next week is, wait. Oh, there is one more week before host week. I got so confused. Okay. Next week, we have Dugan's Travel. Jennifer Dugan will be on. Then the following week is when we have Chuni Wright, the attorney that I was mentioning. So make sure to submit your questions, legal questions. And then the following week after host week, when we'll all be hungover from host week excitement, will be Lori Spears with Levarte Travel, and she will spice things up for us. So before we sign off, just a quick reminder, make sure to RSVP for host week. It's free. It's fun. Lots of information. We'll put the link in the comments for you. And then don't forget that if you want to sign up for one of the coffee spots, those need separate registrations. So thank you, Dave, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Steph. Always pleasure, always fun, and always
adorable.
I see in the puppy behind
I
you.
know. I know. The people that are listening are going to be so sad. You're going to need to come on the site and look at it because Fennec is so cute.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you, Dave. And we'll see you all next Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time. Ciao.
Bye, everybody.